Morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. Andy Serling in the clubhouse studio, soon to be joined by Anthony Stabile. Big day and lots to talk about. Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, become a member. We will match up to a $200 deposit bonus. Use the promo code Big A. You want to play that Naira Bets? You want to play through Naira Bets, but you want to play the late pick 5 today, of course. You can play it anywhere, but best play to play is always through Naira Bets. $123,762 in the carryover, as you can see in the late pick 5, races 5 through 9. Anthony and I will talk about those as well as the rest of the card. Anthony, we don't have any time, so let's get rolling. Race number 1. He did lose a huge player in race number 1 when Daddy D Key came out. And yesterday we saw Rudy scratch a slew of short-priced horses in the early races, and we're seeing it again with Daddy DT. Now he does leave and Blame the Thief on the outside, who I believe he reclaimed, actually, and he's running along with Orpheus, who's your top pick, and we'll take a look at them running second and third. I want to say a few starts back for Orpheus, last time out for 2 times back for Blame the Thief. I don't know how you trust Blame the Thief off his terrible performance last time out, and I wonder if Rudy regrets reclaiming him. And the number 5, Orpheus, yes, I agree. He's a major player. The problem is twofold. There's absolutely no pace in this race, and he's just not a winning type, which is why I couldn't pick him on top.
Yeah, and I think I worry about the latter. He's just not a winning type.
You're not worried about the lack of speed?
I mean, I am, but I think I worry more that even when he's had some speed, he's had some trouble. I just feel like he could have very well found the right bunch today.
And you picked an ear?
I went 5, 8, 4, 1.
Yeah, do we need to verbalize our picks, guys?
They were up just now. There you go.
Thanks.
They were up. I went 5, 8, 4, 1. I had a tough time trusting any of them in here. I have no problem doing something like you did and finding an old fuzzy horse like Local Hero.
Yeah, I struggled in here. I mean, Gypsum Johnny will probably inherit a good trip for Linda Rice in the rail. That horse comes out of a win in a field that was really borderline despicable in talent. And this is just a tougher field. Okay, there's a couple of interesting horses. I went to one of them. Local Hero. Do you remember Local Hero?
Sure,
early in his
Local Hero
career?
was on the Triple Crown Trail to begin his career.
He actually had one race for Chad. I forgot. I remembered the race when I looked it up. Actually, because I made a score in the race. Skylar Scramjet paid 23 and change. I remember won the race, and he had one race for Chad here.
Race up here?
Yeah, at Aqueduct.
Yeah, like the middle of the card, like a 6th race one day. I remember this.
Maybe the 8th,
yeah.
but I think it was the 8th. But regardless, it was a big allowance race. And this horse was on the Triple Crown Trail early in his career. He actually, I think, ran 3rd in the Louisiana Derby.
One of the preps down at the fairgrounds, yeah.
The thing that caught my eye a little bit with him was, out of the blue last time, he actually showed something. He showed some life last time. And this is a horse whose form has been completely eluding him. Last time out, he made a real run in that race. I know it was an odd race, but it was against arguably better horses. He made a run before flattening out, so I decided to take him. The other one to take would be Sandy Lane, who did not get the best of rides last time, and I remember David Aragona liked him. He probably should have won last time. Having said that, I don't like the field that horse is coming out of at all, and I just think this is a better field.
I think if you want to try Sandy Lane, you have to hope Raylu is aggressive.
Well, I think if you like anybody here, you're hoping they're aggressive.
Yeah, but there are a couple in here. I mean, namely the horse I put on top. I'm kind of hoping that no pace equals some pace.
Race number 2, which kicks off the early pick 4. Thought this was an interesting race. Now, maybe Playtone's going to be favored, though I think the horse that you picked on top should be favored in this race. I think Frenzy Freedom should be favored here. This is Playtone, I guess, winning 2 races back on October 19th. I'm not sold on this horse.
No, I'm not either. And I thought David had it right. I feel like that Playtone will be the favorite. I'll say this.
Yes, the figs.
I'll say this. If she reverts to her form from 2 starts back where he just put her on the lead, Aubrey Tate coming out of here would probably make things a little easier. I know she's faster than Aubrey Tate, but...
Well, you think Playtone's the speed? She's not.
I think if she wants to be the speed, she could be the speed.
I don't.
Who do you think's the speed? Do you think it's Sneaky Surprise?
Well, yeah, of course she's the speed.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well, she is. Regardless, she is. Unless if she breaks out of the gate, she's the speed. Maybe Hector goes into a whipping and driving, slashing ride, but based on what they've done on the racetrack, the 2's faster. Yeah, I don't love Playtone. I don't love that his barn's done overall. It hasn't been a particularly good couple of years for them. This horse can win. I think there are other interesting horses. What shocks me is that the chart callers missed the trouble with with Frenzy Freedom last time, and I think the world of our chart callers here in New York. This horse had a full head of steam. He's the #1 horse in here, and he gets completely ridden into a switch here, and Irad has to totally steady him out of there. I mean, this is a very, very pivotal piece of trouble, because you've got a horse that has no momentum of his run.
She was getting ready to roll.
And she's completely stopped. Now, I'm not convinced that she's not a closing sprinter and that a mile isn't too far for her, because after that, she didn't finish up. So I'm actually thinking cutting back might be okay. I worry that 6 a little short, but I don't know. I'm not sure this is an horse that might be more effective actually going shorter.
When I watched this replay, I kind of felt the same way. It's a little deceiving, though, because she really looked like
well, she
was rolling.
Now, listen, just because she was making her move doesn't mean she wouldn't have flattened out.
Correct.
I don't think either one of us
And
suggested she would have won the race, but she did have significant trouble at a key moment in the race.
I tend to agree with you. From after the trouble, and you could just say, well, she was done after the trouble. She didn't really look like she appreciated having to go that extra ground. And it could be deceiving because of the trouble, but like you, again,
she is a little on the slow side as far
as,
and we do have to move this along, or we'll run out of time with our minimal amount of time we have in the show these days. The #2 Sneaky Surprise. I found an interesting stat for Todd Pletcher. Second-time starters coming off of 6-month-plus layoffs. They broke their maidens in their debuts in dirt sprints. Todd is 7 for 12. He's 3 for 3 at Naira. It just seems like, and I have seen these horses, it just seems like these horses, one after the other, and these horses are paying over $650, so these are not 3 to 5 Pletcher horses. These horses, one after the other, overperform off of their maiden wins. And this is a classic horse that did not beat a particularly good field, didn't do it with a very good fig. The stumble was very minor at the start, nothing that I would really consider anything that hindered this horse. So I don't think the race could have been faster, but these horses continuously come back and run better. No,
she was what she was first time out. But yeah, that's an unbelievable stat, and if you believe she's going to be loose in here, she probably has a big edge.
The 6 Violent Point's not impossible, though I think the connections would have preferred that it rained a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the rain is supposed to hold off through the card, or at least until late in the day. Supposed to get a lot of rain this evening. Race #3, we'll take a look at Cold Hard Cash. It's kind of hard for me. I made a big bet on Cold Hard Cash last time. Ran a winning race, just came up ahead short. I didn't try to beat this horse. I thought there were another few horses that are mildly interesting. If he runs his last race, he's going to win.
Couldn't agree with you more. He looks like he's the goods. I'm a little curious as to the blinkers going on, because the horse ran so well last time, and I don't know if maybe Jose came back and said, look, the horse was goofing around.
Probably said he goofed around and hung.
Yeah, I guess.
Exactly why.
Right.
I don't think it's that surprising, given how this horse did seem to hang in the stretch and looked like I had the race won and didn't go by. So I
wonder if it was a hang. He also looked like he was trying to lug in a little bit. And Jose kept going left-handed. Hopefully the blinkers straighten him out. If they do, they're going to have to really. These horses are going to really have to improve to keep up with this horse.
Talk about some others in here. I think Super Ego's a little bit interesting. John Service, #3, has good numbers, stretching out his maidens, where he's done okay in the past. I don't really want the 4 Empire Express, who feels to be like a mediocre turf horse. And this isn't a big move for Brad Cox. This horse could take some money. You have Future Book. I think Future Book is actually kind of interesting. And the 5 Future Book, I think, could end up being the speed, though you've got Just in Time for Wine, who obviously has speed on turf. Future Book last time not run that badly. I don't think you really necessarily wanted to be on the rail last time. And after breaking a half-length slow, rushed up, was too wide between, but that ended up down inside. And I could give Future Book another chance.
Okay. I kind of felt the same way about the 6 Pave It. I don't think he is fast enough to keep up with Just in Time for Wine or Future Book. The blinkers go on those, so it's going to be a little bit of a price.
He was awful last time.
He was not good.
Awful.
Selling commissioner, though, hopefully the stretch out's going to help him, and he should be pocketed up in a good spot. I think the 1 and the 6 will be right behind the speed in here, and I just wanted one of those. But like you said, I mean, they're going to have to really step up their game.
The 8's a little interesting in here.
Yeah.
Brunette. It's actually really a dirt family. It's Kathy Nas, but going back, it's all dirt horses. And I thought Brunette was maybe a little bit interesting in here as well.
Fresh gelding.
If you want to have other horses. So maybe some other horses to play. I don't want to fall for horses like Forever Wicked and Just in Time for Wine. It seemed like David has them like 2nd and 3rd choice, or 2nd and 4th choice. I think they're.
You have Super Ego. Super Ego's another one that's a little interesting, I think.
Yep. Race #4. Race #4 was not as dramatically affected by scratches as I thought it could have been. And I think the question of this race is distance. And we'll start by showing the horse you have on top, who I don't like at all, London House. What is London House going to do with the 7 Rally Cap and 7 furlongs. 2 back, he couldn't even win under the most ideal of circumstances against Liam's Let's Go, who's not very good. Last time out, he did meet better horses, but now he's got to go 7 and deal with an absolute, committed speed horse.
I'll tell you this, I'm betting this horse on the come. I hope they don't try to go. I hope they just try to sit second to Rally Cap. I do. And I know, obviously, it's a different, this horse broke his maiden in the slot by 15 lengths going 7. Listen, obviously another place and another time, but I think the fact that Rally Cap is in here is going to help this horse today because I think
it can't help him.
I think he's just going to sit off from him.
It can't help him.
Why can't it help him?
Because
you think he wants to cut the 7 on the front end
because
by himself?
He's a committed speed horse who's only been effective when he can control in the front end, and now he's got to get 7 furlongs on a dry track in his current form with another committed fast speed horse. No, I think the notion that it'll help this horse is ludicrous.
Okay.
We can agree to disagree.
Okay.
You think it's a 2-speed number. I don't see how that's possible.
I just wanted the 2. No, listen.
You think Rally Cap can get 7?
I want to use 4 or 5. No, I handicapped this race a little differently. I want to get through this race in the pick 4 and the pick 5. I want to use a bunch of horses in here. I want to use 4, 7, 9, 10.
I want to use a bunch of horses you're not using.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess Family Biz is the logical closer in a race pack with speed, though frankly his recent form is a little bit dubious. I'm not thrilled. I like Take It to Scale. The thing I like about Take It to Scale is he's not that slow. So if for some reason this pace doesn't materialize the way it's supposed to, Vargas is supposed to have him in a reasonable spot. Last time out, he was the only horse that was involved in the pace that hung around at all at the end. The race just completely collapsed. I don't think his race 2 back makes him anything other than a major contender in this race. I actually thought he ran pretty well in his last start. I don't have any problem with this horse at all. I just thought he was a very logical horse in this race that would be sitting a pretty good trip.
He'll get a good price.
I don't agree with David that he's going to be 12. What am I missing about this horse? Why is this horse a big price? Who are people supposed to be betting over this horse?
I think there's a little bit of a. I know a lot of them in here don't have it, but there's a little lack of consistency in all these horses. And his bad races. See, I think it's his bad races.
But what about the good races anybody's running here? I completely disagree. I think Take It to Scale is just a super logical horse in this race. I think he'll be around 5 to 1. I think.
Oh, you'll get more. I think you'll get more than that.
I don't think I will.
Okay.
But we'll see. Hopefully I will.
Barnes been very quiet on the circuit. Barnes been very quiet on the circuit.
I couldn't care less about that.
Okay. I'm talking about why he's why I think David made him that price.
Look, David can feel free to text me. I doubt that came into play for you.
You don't think it came into play at all? Okay.
No. But maybe it did. I don't know. David's usually right about these things. I disagree here. Listen, he and I have a huge disagreement later in the card. Race number 5 kicks off that late pick 5 with $137,000 or $123,762 carryover. You and I have the same horse here. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Hellbender to start. And we'll show Hellbender's last race where he lost by a nose. The horse did run well in his first dirt race, and I have no problem with this horse at all. He's fairly logical. He lost to good horses first time out, and he ran well on the turf, but his dirt race wasn't bad. I just don't want to take him as the favorite. Being bet more off dirt form, even though his turf form, even though his dirt race was okay.
Right. My other problem with him is I would imagine he's going to have to deal with Go Rudy Go, who's stretching out from the sprint races to the mile today on the front end. So, I don't want to take this horse.
You don't think he can win rating?
He could, but do you want to find out at 8 to 5? I don't.
Well, he's a horse that just going to be an A in my pick, late pick 5.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, listen, I think Go Rudy Go can wire the field. I'm scared of him. I don't trust him getting a mile. But he is the controlling speed here, and Raylu's just supposed to let him roll.
Just let him roll. Obviously, with the carryover, there's going to be a few tickets. I'm going to be putting in a few tickets today, and I'm going to use all 4 of them on one of the tickets. The 4 horses we have a bit because I think you can make a case for all 4 of these horses today. Too early. I mean, we're both going to find. I know I'm going to gravitate towards Linda horses that are a little interesting, especially wintertime. This horse is a half to John's Island, who won over $400,000. And the fact of the matter is, the family.
It's really a dirt family.
Yeah.
I don't know why Linda was insisting
I don't either.
on running this horse in the turf, because it's really a dirt family.
That double
it's very
happiness
strange.
is Mott. That's the only other horse.
The only thing that worries me a little bit is she did it twice, which leads me to believe that she's not confident in this horse in the dirt.
Right, and it bothers me. The one thing that bothers me is, you could talk about these horses earlier on in their 2-year-old year and say, well, they needed to get distance, that's why we run them on the turf. We have plenty of long races at Belmont Park on the dirt for these horses, and she didn't. Look.
Now, maybe she had horses for those races, and that's why she didn't want to run the horse. You don't really know, and she thought, I'm certainly going to get plenty of time during the winter to run this horse. So that's also a possibility, because Linda's always represented, it seems, in all the New York bred maiden races in the dirt. The one valid question, you have second, I think I have fourth. Horses come out of a live race. I just don't know if the horse is much.
You pointed that, we talked about the live race. The horse was in the slop first time out, got the race, going to stretch out to the flat mile today. Cassie's horses seem to be running up here. Especially,
yeah, but this one has a dirt race, albeit in a sloppy sealed track. He also broke a length slow in that race, which doesn't seem to be mentioned. I don't know if it was mentioned in the chart, not the short call, but he broke a length slow. He didn't do a lot of running, but that was a pretty good field.
Yeah, and of the 4 horses that we have in here, he's going to be clearly the biggest price, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, you and I saw the race fairly similarly. Race number 6. Race number 6. You like the Great Johanna. I disagree with you having split the top 2 in here. I don't know where Tappan Z is going to win this race, but the Great Johanna is probably the horse to beat. And I think Great Johanna benefits. This is a race as a bring back. While the race got theoretically tougher because it's a bigger field, I don't think any of the new players look, on paper at least, particularly tough. And the concern when this race, when we canceled, which now feels like eons ago. It was 10 days ago.
10 days ago.
The horse was coming back on 14 days rest. Now the horse is coming back on 24 days rest, which can only help. And the Great Johanna's just been in good form and is a logical horse to beat.
That's it. That's all I had to say. The only reason I'm even using Tappan Z is the horse has some speed, and Dominic Scatino's horses, both here and in Florida, have been running improved. Have been improved.
They have?
Yeah, they have.
Okay. Do me a favor. Text me some examples, so we'll talk about it in the show, because I don't recall Dominic's. I mean, I love Dominic.
Well, he won 2 races in 8 minutes the other day. One here and one there.
Okay, what prices were they?
The horse down there, I think, paid $12.
Okay. You know what? Just find him and let me know.
Who won here the other day? I can't remember.
I don't know.
Saturday.
I don't know.
Can't remember who it was Saturday.
I don't know. But I'd like to know if they were outrunning their odds.
Okay.
I don't know where this horse's dirt races are. I like the 8, Ammon Passable. Same picks I made the last time. I think Ammon Passable seems to be an improving horse. The Kelly Green Barn has good numbers. I think we have a stat afterwards. They're good numbers off of maiden wins, and this horse seems to be improving. Maybe he's just the latest. She was the latest in line of horses that were able to beat Dahl, as everybody can beat Dahl. And that may be the case, but I just thought these were the 2 horses in here. I had a tough time making a case for anybody else.
When I finalized everything last night, that was one of the other reasons that made me put Tappan Z between these 2. I think when you keep finding...
What races Tappan Z have? You have to tell me what race it has that makes him a contender in here. Or do you see the horse winning the slop and think it was going to rain?
No. The horse is going to need to improve, but like I said, Dominic's horse has been running better lately. And if this horse has some speed, I don't think there's a ton of speed in this race. You think there's a ton of speed in this race? I don't really think.
Oh, we went with Elios Milos at 2-1. Yeah. Good. Just checking. That's what we went with. Elios Milos.
I knew somebody won here. Yeah.
Okay. 2-1.
Horses. How many times is that? I'm not going to get into it with you. I'm using.
I want you to back these crazy assertions
They're not
up.
crazy.
I want you to back them up with facts. I don't think that's too much to ask. Is that too much to ask?
Horses have been running.
These random throw out the regular. No, Elios Milos is not an indication, and even Dominic would be laughing at this. This barn is going well.
In Florida, 5 minutes after
Elios Milos was lucky to win.
Yeah,
the second horse ran far and away the best race that day. So maybe Dominic's got a lucky charm or something. He's been rubbing.
If you would have watched the horse win in Florida,
it must be. Is there a lucky charm involved in this? Come on, you're like a lucky charm guy. Is there like a special? Do you give him something for Christmas and he's rubbing it?
Keep trying to knock on the Carlisle Bell door. You do that. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I know. I'm so embarrassed.
What are we doing?
Anthony, you're down 42 lunches. We'll get to the lunch bets in a second. You're down 42 lunches.
All right.
Yeah, it was so embarrassing when I mentioned that Carlisle Bell, I picked third, 2 back, was an interesting horse to use, and she ran second at 27-1 to the horse I told you was the horse to beat in the race.
She is what she is.
I'm so embarrassed. Do I want to bet Carlisle Bell to finish for Tappan Zee? Yes. We can bet 2 lunches on that.
There you go.
It'll be 44 lunches after that.
Okay.
Steve Bick would like to get in this one,
He
too.
can have as many as he wants.
He likes a nice lunch. You're insane.
Okay.
Lunch bets.
We'll see.
42. You know, the only reason that Frank wasn't embarrassed by your performance was that Frank was busy working yesterday.
Frank was busy.
Race number
Frank
7.
was fantastic yesterday.
Linda scratched I Love Jackson. And you have gone to the Caretaker in race number 7.
I have. Yes.
Okay. You think that one big race for Rudy has suddenly transformed this horse?
No, this horse has always been...
Never been good enough to win this race until last time.
Until last time, I agree. But he's always been a consistent sort, and Rudy gets a hold of these horses, and they get better. And this horse, obviously, I mean, this horse comes...
He did get better, I don't disagree.
This horse ran behind a stakes horse.
Second. We'll see if Free Enterprise is a stakes horse. Right now, he's a non-winners of 2. He's eligible for non-winners of 2 other than. We'll see if he ends up being a stakes horse.
Okay.
Well, I mean, right now he's eligible for non-winners of 2 other than. He's 2 for 5 or 6 in his career. Let's not get
2
carried
for 5.
Yeah, he did lose 3 straight races. I think he's pretty good, too. I don't know. I scratched into him for second because I had the 1 second. I Love Jackson, who I did think was the horse to beat. I'm not. The problem with the Caretaker is, David, this is a race, David, and I disagree. I think that you and David both badly missed Charlie McCoy, who I think will either be favored or second choice in this race. I have trouble seeing the Caretaker favored off of 1 number. I'm using him. Don't get me wrong. He's an A on my tickets, and I'm scared of him. And maybe he is new. The question is Potomac. What do you do with the number 9 Potomac in this race? Because
You use him.
now, it's important to note something about Potomac. You use him. I'm going to use him defensively.
Yeah, you have to use him defensively.
He came up a very good rail. It was an unusual circumstance in Sarah this summer when we sealed the track and it was fast. Particularly fast. When we sealed tracks, the rail got good. And this is one of those days where there was a storm in the area that never materialized. And we sealed the track for like 2 races, and the rail got good, and he came up to beat Driven to Compete. He really did lose that good form that he had for Rudy, and then he actually ran very well 6 days after claim from Rudy. So basically on Rudy's training on Belmont Day when he chased outside against the gold rail in his next start. I'm a little worried that his form eluded him badly after that, and he's dressed up by his last race.
You don't worry the fact, you see, and I don't know if I necessarily agree that his form eluded him badly. He ran him 2 turns. Because when he came back to the 1-turn race, he came back to his form.
He was sitting on an incredibly slow pace.
I understand that, but he's still, I mean, Andy, if he doesn't want to go 9, he doesn't want to go 9,
I
you know what I mean?
I think his form badly eluded him.
Okay.
He had no problem winning in a mile and 16th. So you say he doesn't want to go 9, yet he was running great.
He had no
in
problem
8.5.
going a mile and a 16th, going around 1 turn.
Okay, so this is your 2-turn argument. You just said distance. I said
it's both.
I don't see how you can say it's distance when you ran the last 2 races. You want to use 2 turns. I don't agree with it. That's fine. That's inarguable. The distance one is arguable, Ant. Anyway, we don't have time for this kind of minutia to be argued about. What am I missing about Charlie McCoy? Charlie McCoy looks to me like a horse that ran 3 bang-up races in a row. Then he's laid up. Then he comes back, he gets involved in the heated pace in the Free Enterprise race where the pace fell apart, and he just needed the race off a layoff. He got exactly what he needed off the layoff, getting involved in the pace and dropping back. He's worked well since the race, and I think now second off the layoff for Michelle. He rates to get back to his better races, and his better races make him maybe the horse to be in here.
If those 3 races that he ran back here in this winter and spring were 2 to 3-year-old form as opposed to 3 to 4-year-old form, I would be more inclined to agree with you.
Okay.
The fact that he was not good to the point where he was in those 3 races this year before that break, the September to January
now
break.
I'm getting confused. So because he's a 4-year-old now, he can't run anymore.
No. I'm not saying he can't run anymore. I'm saying his 4. He got good for 3 races.
So you don't think
off a
you
3
think
and a
he's
half
got-
month
you
break,
got-
and then he disappeared, and then he came back, and I don't think he ran particularly well last time.
Okay, we disagree. Race, other horse to talk about, Some Sound. This is a huge jump up for Some Sound.
What do you do with him? I mean, what do you do with him? I put him second in here. I don't know what to do with him in here.
I don't think he's good enough. The truth is that second Free Enterprise is looking like an aberration. I have him 4th. I scratched into. I don't know. What about, I got the replay of Spectra Bond's race, his debut. This is such a funny thing. This is Spectra Bond's debut. He got 100 Bayer. This is June of 2017. He beat Mr. Crow and Wonderful Light, 2 stakes quality horses, and beat them. And it's amazing. He's just never been able to get close to it anymore.
Let me tell you, I'm going to tell you this about this horse too. I made a good bet on this horse this day. He was 5-2 with a minute to post. I've bet very few horses in my life based on looks. I was sitting on the patio at Belmont. This horse walked by. He looked like Adonis. He looked unbelievable at that. I don't know where he went. I don't know what happened.
Just his form has been.
I don't know what happened.
It's just completely eluded.
It's weird to ship him here too, right? Because the Florida bird races, it just makes no sense. Doesn't make any sense to me.
You make a great point.
It doesn't make any sense to me. It's a weird move.
I agree.
But I'm not going to, I know there's a version of this horse that can win this race and pay $18 today. So.
Well, there, you agree with me. There's no way this horse is, I don't see how this horse is the same price as Charlie McCoy.
No.
Anyway, we'll see what happens. Race number eight was affected by scratches. The favorite remains, and the question with our Supernova is how comfortable you are with the horse getting mile and an eighth, because if she's able to run back, and I think we'll show her race 2 back with Stallion Series, her recent form is absolutely terrific. And if she runs back to any of her last 3 races, this field, the heads on the horses in this race will be spinning.
Yeah, if she handles the 9 furlong, she's going to win this by as far as she wants. Yep. I agree. I worry about it.
No, you have to. I don't think it's. I'm sure Charlie Baker's worried about it.
I worry about it.
You know, now she has been effective going longer, and she has run okay. You know, those race at Finger Lakes going 2 turns were okay. And keep in mind, it's not like they weren't in line with her races back then.
Correct.
So she has shown the ability to handle 2 turns, and she's been shown the ability to handle at least a mile and 16th around 2 turns. So I wouldn't, or a mile and 40 yards actually. So. I didn't want to pick against her. I don't know how you have her 4th in here, 3rd in here, but. I just, you know, I don't know. I just wish she's forced to beat. Out of Orbit, we'll show Out of Orbit, beating 2 of these, Lucky Move and Cartwheel up in the Saratoga Dew. It's today's mile and eighth distance at Saratoga. I got to think she's dangerous. She ran well this day. But is she getting the lead from Cartwheel?
No.
Isn't Lescano supposed to be aggressive with Cartwheel today?
And
I mean, he let her go in this race. Why did they let her
Dew.
go? I don't know who did Lescano ride her. He just let her go.
Yeah. I made a good bet on Cartwheel this day. I love the one we talked about it on the show, thinking she'd just get in front and keep going, and it turns out that's exactly what Out of Orbit did. I would think you learn from your mistakes and put this horse on the lead today, Cartwheel.
But isn't Manny gonna look and see what Saez did and say I'm just gonna be aggressive?
Well, then they got it. I mean, if that's the case, they almost have to hit up a little bit. No,
people don't hit up around here. But you'll finally one day admit that nobody hits up around.
I'm getting my girl Mrs. Orb home again.
Good luck.
I'm doing it.
This is quite a step up for her.
It is. And
there's no foolish livings in here.
No, there's no. Listen, it's a big step up. She's won the mile and the 16th on the turf, so I don't have that many problems with her going the 2 turns.
Stop making that up. This is turf races mean nothing. You can't do that, Anthony.
I have less of a worry with her not having any 2-turn races on the card.
Dirt races are about horses running hard the whole way. Turf races are about horses going ba-doo, ba-doo, ba-doo,
yeah, I get that, but she has 1 2-turn race on her card
stop,
and she gallops in it. I don't care that it's on the turf, to be honest with you.
Stop.
Because the way she makes, the way she's
you got to be careful about making 2-turn arguments against one horse and making them for another horse by using a turf race. I think that's a terrible handicapping lesson.
Well, the mile and the 16th races.
I don't think she looks like a horse going to have a problem with distance. She's an orb and she's closing. I mean, if you're going to just assume that every horse can't get a mile and an eighth around 2 turns, you're being ridiculous.
I don't assume that.
I'm not saying you do. I think it's a much better argument that she's an orb and she runs like a horse and she have no problem with distance.
She shouldn't have any problem.
Right. I don't think the fact that she ran a 2-turn turf race got a 60 buyer.
She's going to be a good price, because now with Held Accountable out, who was going to certainly take some money, I think Out of Orbit's going to get overbet in here. I don't really prefer Out of Orbit.
All right, we're going to run out of time, so let's move to race number 9. We've had this argument before. You've stuck to your pick with Hostile Witness, despite the fact that he got absolutely blown out by Uncle Ned and Bobby from the Palm.
Yeah.
Why is he going to beat them again today?
I believe the plan is to try to make one attempt to come from off the pace today.
They've tried it before.
When did they try?
Last time he stalked.
Yeah, well, to me, 2 lengths off the leader is not off the pace.
Well, they've got to try something new, because he, A, can't come close to getting the lead in this race unless they want to be whipping and driving, and B, isn't good enough to be competitive. That's fine. I don't get it.
I'm using 6 horses in a race.
Yeah, I want to take a shot with a new face near Super Wicked Charm. Now, I would hope that the rain holds off, because this horse, and if it obviously starts sprinkling, it's not going to affect the track.
I think it'll be fine.
The track could probably use a little bit of moisture, frankly.
I saw a few showers at 3 o'clock. That's what my forecast said.
And that's 3 to 4, so that means it could be 350. This horse took money first time out for the Asmussen barn. Didn't really do any running. But you know what? This is a live barn. Caught the muddy sealed track last time. Might not have run at all in that. I just thought this horse was a new player for a new crew, would be a price near. I took this horse on top. I don't want really the horses I've seen. No argument against Uncle Ned, who seems logical. I don't know how you can expect the 5 Icy Dude who we've got in there. But this horse didn't do any running first time out. Linda claimed it. Maybe it'll run better. Yaha's a little bit interesting. This horse is really a dirt pedigree, not turf. So I'm going to use a little bit of the 6.
You can make a peripheral case for 8 of these horses.
Maybe, not really to me. I'm going to focus in on the 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7.
Okay.
In some manner. Anyway, we're out of time. Johnny I with the scratches and changes.